Hello, everyone. Welcome to the preview show delivered by FedEx Racing. I'm your host, Alan Cavana, and joining me after a few weeks break, Marty Snyder.
Where have you been, Alan? I've been
Where have you
sick
been?
about you,
He's been in an
young
RV
man.
traveling the country.
I've been studying.
Studying?
Don't worry about it.
Well,
Yeah, I've
good.
been studying, dude. Working at every racetrack in the country.
Well, it's good to have you back because
Yeah, good to be back.
all week we've been reacting to what will likely be the biggest story in
Yeah.
NASCAR this season. Tony Stewart, injured in a sprint car wreck, broke his leg, out this weekend at Watkins Glen, likely out much longer than that. What was your initial reaction to the wreck and the decisions and everything that went happened
Well,
afterwards?
the first thing that obviously you turn to is you turn to concern for Tony, and obviously we're all glad that he's okay and broken bones can heal, and we're glad it's not much worse than that. And I think that's the biggest thing that you're worried about immediately is just Tony. I do, however, feel that, you know, the biggest question that's going to come out of this is should Tony Stewart even be doing this in the first place? And I think, first of all, the people who ask those questions don't really understand Tony Stewart in general. And I've had tons of private and public conversations with Tony Stewart about this topic. Some of it I'll leave behind closed doors, but I'll say publicly, this is what he loves. He loves sprint car racing. So I don't think this is going to change for Tony. I think he's certainly, you know, going to have to physically take a break for a while. But next year when he's healthy, he's going to be back doing this again. I don't think things really change with Tony Stewart.
Do you understand the questions, though, about
Yeah,
right
and
reasons
I
to
get the
jump in that
questions.
car?
I
I mean,
just think
is the risk worth the reward?
I think the people who ask that question don't understand Tony Stewart. I mean, and they don't know him very well. And that's kind of why he went off on the media last week at Pocono, because he's like, you guys ask the same question all the time. I'm not going to change. I understand the questions, yes. And, you know, if I am a guy in the national media and I'm going to sit there and go, well, why is he doing that stuff anyway? I'm going to ask that question because it's a legitimate question. But those people, again, don't understand what makes him work. They don't understand what makes him tick. And I'll tell you this, someday, Alan, he's going to retire from Sprint Cup Series racing. He's still going to be in that sprint car. He's still going to run that until he's 50 or 60 years old. That's not going to change. That's just who he is. That's what he loves to do. That's what makes him Tony Stewart. And I don't think that's going to change at all.
Yeah, just a shocking development. I mean, it's a preview show, and suddenly we're previewing a race without Tony Stewart.
Right, yeah, which is very
that.
odd, yeah.
Let's take a look at the points now and how Tony Stewart's decision and the incidents that happened affect the points. I mean, 9th to 14th place in points is only separated by, I think, 18 points. And Tony Stewart was right in the middle of that in 11th, and he had the win. He was in the wild card spot.
Right.
Are we looking at a whole new chase right now?
Well, I mean, I think we certainly are because you're going to have some new guys who are involved. I mean, you got to look at immediately this teammate Ryan Newman, who I said has come to life in the last few weeks. You got to look at Martin Truex Jr., who now all of a sudden is in the mix because they're going to be in a good position over the next couple of weeks with some good racetracks coming up for him. But the team that I really look out for is Brad Keselowski and that team. I saw speed out of them at Pocono I haven't seen all year long. They were able to keep up with the 48 when he was running up front. If they've got that magic and they've got things working right now with some very good tracks for him coming up, I think Brad Keselowski is going to be tough one to beat in the next couple of weeks.
Finished second in Watkins Glen last year, and that's where we're heading to this week. A road course we've seen the final lap of last year's race. Anything can happen. These races are crazy. So what is that going to do for the points chase? I mean, from that 9th to 14th?
Absolutely can mess it up. I mean, because you've always got that kind of thrown in as a little bit of a loop for everybody when you go to a place like Watkins Glen. But when you're thinking about Watkins Glen this weekend, it's totally different than Sonoma. Don't go to the top 5 at Sonoma and say, oh, those are the guys who are going to run well at Watkins Glen. I was talking to Juan Pablo Montoya about this the other week, and he said, you know, Watkins Glen is so different because it's so fast. You can't afford to make a mistake. It's so technical. And because of the speed, if you mess up, you lose so much time. Watkins Glen, a completely different set of guys that should run well. And that's why we kind of see that same group. Juan Pablo, you see Marcos Ambrose, you've seen Kyle Busch, you've seen Brad Keselowski, as you mentioned. That same group run well at Watkins Glen, and they maybe don't necessarily run so well at Sonoma.
All right, out of those guys you named or any of the other drivers, who's your pick to win?
I'm going to go with JPM, and I hate to go with him based on a conversation I had with him, but he told me they went after Sonoma to a test at Road Atlanta. He said they were phenomenal. He said, that's the best I've ever been in a Cup road course car. He said, if we can run well like we did that test at Road Atlanta at Watkins Glen this weekend, there's no way we won't win that race. I think they are a very good, going to be very tough to beat this weekend and a very good bet this weekend as well.
You're going with JPM. I'm going against your advice, and I'm taking one of those drivers you did not mention. Marty, there's been one driver to finish in the top 5 the last 3 road courses. Do you know who it is?
That would be Clint Boyer.
Clint Boyer.
French driver.
Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer is going to win this weekend at Watkins Glen. He hasn't won yet. He needs that win. He's running well, but he needs those bonus points. And again, he's running the top 5 in road courses.
And they're very good at road courses. And Brian Patty is still mad about that Sonoma race because
well,
he told Boyer all day long, dude, we had the fastest car all weekend and we didn't win. What happened? Their teammate won.
Juan Pablo, Clint Boyer, may the best man win. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us. The preview show delivered by FedEx Racing. For Marty Snyder, I'm Alan Cavana. Have a great weekend.